There is a book, older than the Bible, a book that speaks of fallen angels, of giants, of the end of days. A book so controversial it was banned, buried, and forgotten. This is the Book of Enoch, once cherished by early Christians, now cast into the shadows. Was it suppressed to control the narrative, or to protect us from what it reveals? Join us on a journey through lost scripture, forbidden knowledge, and divine rebellion. Discover the hidden legacy of Enoch and why it still matters today. Some truths don't die, they wait to be found. Buried in desert caves, whispered about in secret circles, and feared by religious authorities for centuries, there lies a book so ancient, so bold, that it was cast out from the Bible we know today. This is the story of the Book of Enoch, a text that bridges heaven and earth, angels and men, past and future. Enoch, a name hidden between the lines of Genesis, a man who walked with God and was taken alive into the heavens. But what did he see? What did he write? And why did religious leaders across centuries choose to silence his visions? The Book of Enoch, also known as First Enoch, emerges from the shadows of the 2nd century BC, composed in an era teeming with religious evolution and apocalyptic expectation. Written in Ge'ez, Aramaic, and fragments of Greek, this ancient manuscript was once considered sacred by many early Jewish and Christian sects. In fact, fragments of Enoch's book were found among the Dead Sea Scrolls, in Qumran proof that it was cherished by a group known for strict scriptural devotion. But today, it is nearly forgotten, excluded from the Catholic, Protestant, and even most Eastern Orthodox canons, yet preserved in full within the Ethiopian Orthodox Bible. Why? What made this book too dangerous, too heretical, or too illuminating for inclusion? AI text analysis reveals patterns in First Enoch that parallel the apocalyptic imagery found in Revelation, the messianic expectations of Daniel, and even the ethical teachings of Jesus. Some scholars now suggest that it was not merely background noise, it was part of the theological DNA of early Christianity. And yet, it vanished, not with fire or destruction, but with silence, like a scroll hidden in the dark, waiting for the light of curiosity to awaken it again. As we dive deeper, we begin to see why this text was both feared and revered. This is not just a historical artifact. The Book of Enoch is a map to forgotten heavens, forbidden knowledge, and the origins of Christian mysticism. Imagine a world where angels walked among men, not as messengers, but as rebels. The Book of Enoch opens with a stunning narrative. A group of heavenly beings, the Watchers, descend upon Mount Hermon, not with divine orders, but with desire. These angels, led by a being named Semjazar, make a pact to take human women as wives. Their union gives birth to giants, the Nephilim, towering beings of immense power and terrifying hunger, who ravage the earth and defy the order of heaven. Among the Watchers is Azazel, a fallen leader who teaches mankind forbidden arts, the crafting of weapons, the use of cosmetics, sorcery, astrology, and alchemy. Knowledge once reserved for divine beings is now poured out onto humanity, hastening its corruption. These tales aren't just ancient fantasy. They echo in myths from Sumer to Greece, in tales of the Titans, in the sons of gods of ancient lore. Some even suggest the Watchers were misunderstood extraterrestrials, early alien theorists, pointing to the same story through a different lens. Modern AI parallels are eerie. Today, we too grapple with forbidden knowledge, gene editing, autonomous intelligence, digital creation. Like the Watchers, we unlock doors without knowing what lies beyond. Could we be the new Watchers? The narrative takes a darker turn. God, in fury, commands the archangels Michael, Raphael, Gabriel to wage war. The giants are destroyed in a catastrophic flood. The Watchers are bound in chains and cast into darkness until the day of judgment. But Enoch, Enoch is not destroyed. He is taken up to heaven to become a divine scribe. His visions span time itself. He sees the throne of God, the future of the righteous, and the punishment of the wicked. His apocalypse is rich with symbolism, stars falling like leaves, mountains melting like wax, and the Son of Man a messianic figure coming in glory. And yet, this story was erased. Was it too mythological, too dark, or did it say something too close to the truth? Even today, practitioners of Enochian magic, such as the alchemist John Dee, believed Enoch's language could speak to angels. His visions live on not just in dusty scrolls, but in the symbols of secret societies, apocalyptic fiction, and occult rituals. In the earliest centuries of Christianity, believers were still writing the story of their faith letter by letter, scroll by scroll. There was no bound Bible, no New Testament canon, just teachings passed from mouth to mouth, hidden in caves, sung in hymns. And among those sacred echoes was the voice of Enoch. The Book of Enoch wasn't some obscure footnote to early Christians. It was cherished, cited, revered. The Epistle of Jude, a book within our modern Bible, directly quotes Enoch declaring, "Behold, the Lord comes with 10,000s of his holy ones to execute judgment on all." This isn't an echo. It's a shout, a declaration that Enoch's visions shaped how early followers saw the return of Christ. Church fathers, such as Tertullian in the 2nd century AD, defended the Book of Enoch. He believed it to be divinely inspired, offering unparalleled insights into the nature of angels, the judgment to come, and the cosmic battle between good and evil. To Tertullian, Enoch was essential, but cracks began to form. As Christianity grew from a persecuted sect into a structured religion, new questions arose. What is Scripture? What is heresy? And who gets to decide? Enoch's vivid tales of angels breeding with humans, of cosmic journeys through heaven, of mystical knowledge and divine rebellion, did not sit well with bishops seeking order. These stories were wild, untamed, too reminiscent of pagan mythology. They blurred the lines between theology and folklore, between inspiration and danger. The rise of Gnosticism added fuel to the fire. Gnostic sects, with their obsession with secret knowledge, saw Enoch as a kindred spirit. They too believed in hidden truths, divine sparks trapped in flesh, celestial rulers governing a false world, and the church, fearing fragmentation, drew a line. Enoch was no longer an elder of faith. He became a threat to orthodoxy. The Da Vinci Code sparked renewed interest in texts like the Gospel of Thomas, Mary, and Judas' so-called lost Gospels. Enoch, too, rides this wave of rediscovery. It's not just a book, it's a lens, a window into how fluid, diverse, and mystical early Christianity really was before the councils, before the creeds, before the canon hardened. What was lost when Enoch was silenced? Perhaps a fuller picture of Christian mysticism, perhaps the voices of angels that still echoed in the minds of the early faithful, or perhaps the very roots of a forgotten spiritual inheritance. Why would a book so popular, so influential, so deeply interwoven with early theology be erased from the pages of the Bible? The reasons are layered: historical, theological, political. First, there is the question of origin. By the 4th century AD, church leaders were formalizing the canon of Scripture. The Council of Laodicea, and later the Councils of Carthage and Hippo, sought to define the boundaries of divine authority. Books that lacked clear apostolic authorship or that veered too far from established doctrine were cast aside. Enoch, though ancient, did not bear the stamp of an apostle. Worse, its teachings on angels, demons, and the end times clashed with the more subdued, symbolic interpretations of mainstream theologians. Its descriptions of heavenly realms, the naming of archangels, and the roles of supernatural beings all felt dangerous. Second, Enoch was deemed too mythological. Its vision of angelic rebellion resembled Babylonian and Persian cosmology. Critics saw it as a syncretistic text blending Jewish theology with foreign myths. The Church, keen to distance itself from paganism, found this unacceptable. Third, and perhaps most tellingly, was control. The early Church faced countless heresies, uprisings and challenges. Gnostics, Ebionites, Marcionites, all claiming the true gospel. In this war of ideas, a text like Enoch was dynamite. Too strange to embrace, too sacred to deny. So, it was hidden, not burned, just forgotten. But in the deserts of Qumran, fragments survived. Among the Dead Sea Scrolls, scholars found 11 copies of Enoch more than Genesis, Exodus, or Isaiah. Why did the Essenes, a Jewish sect obsessed with purity and prophecy, cherish this book so deeply? Did they see in Enoch a mirror of their own apocalyptic expectations? Even today, archaeological discoveries challenge our assumptions. In 2023, new scans of a sealed scroll from the Judean desert hinted at additional Enochic fragments still unread, still waiting. The debate over canonicity is not settled. It never really was. The Bible is not just a book, it is a library, a collection, and every library has missing volumes. Enoch is one of them. Though excluded from the Bible and hidden from the pews of the West, the Book of Enoch has never truly died. It has lingered like a whisper in the wind, resurfacing in visions, in secret societies, in artistic revolutions and theological debates. It is a survivor of silence, a ghost of the canon. Today that ghost walks again, from the hills of Ethiopia, where the book was preserved in sacred script and sung by priests in the liturgy, to the vaults of scholars scanning ancient fragments, to the glowing screens of YouTube, TikTok, and AI-driven archives, Enoch has become more than a relic. It is a revolution. In literature, the legacy of Enoch inspires dystopian tales and spiritual odysseys. The giants of old become metaphors for empires, fallen angels for corrupted elites, and the apocalypse not a firestorm, but a moral reckoning. Graphic novels, video games, fantasy films, each echo with fragments of his forbidden lore. In the realm of theology, interest surges. Independent researchers, pastors, and laypeople now ask bold questions once reserved for seminaries. Why was this text suppressed? What secrets of the divine does it still hold? In an age where dogma is questioned and deconstruction is a movement, Enoch offers a rare, raw, spiritual artifact, untamed and unrevised. Even artificial intelligence trained on thousands of sacred texts now finds uncanny resonance between Enoch's prophecies and modern fears. The Watchers, once symbols of divine rebellion, begin to reflect our own technological anxieties. Machines watching us, algorithms shaping reality, knowledge outrunning wisdom. Has Enoch become prophetic once again this time, not in theology, but in metaphor? And there's more. Recent cryptographic work on ancient scrolls texts once unreadable has revealed micro-scriptures with phrases unmistakably tied to the Enochian tradition. We may be on the verge of a second discovery, a digital resurrection of lost scripture. In modern occultism and mysticism, Enoch continues to inspire. The Enochian language, developed by John Dee and Edward Kelly in the 16th century, claims to be the very tongue of angels received through divine trance and ritual. Whether real or invented, it shows how deeply this text penetrates our longing to speak the language of heaven. But perhaps the most important legacy of the Book of Enoch is not in what it says, but in what its exclusion says. Who decides what is truth? Who writes the holy? Who guards the gates of divine knowledge? The Book of Enoch stands as a challenge. It dares us to reconsider the boundaries of sacredness. It invites us to re-examine the line between myth and revelation, between wisdom and heresy, between ancient memory and modern relevance. In the end, this documentary is not just about a lost book. It's about lost trust, lost voices, and the rediscovery of a spiritual story that was almost erased. So now we ask you, what if the Bible isn't missing one book but many? What if the truth was never lost, just hidden? The Book of Enoch invites us to reimagine history, to reclaim curiosity, and to step boldly into mystery. It's more than a manuscript, it's a mirror. It reflects not only the ancient world, but our world now, obsessed with knowledge, hungry for transcendence, fearful of apocalypse, desperate for meaning. Read the Book of Enoch for yourself. Examine its words, question its visions, decide where it fits in your journey. Because sometimes the texts that were buried are the ones that speak the loudest.